So it's been a long time. Actually, I've started another what we call podcast, but it's in my native language called Filipino, Tagalog, right? So while that has been like a free flowing conversation with my friends and sometimes with my own self, right? This podcast has always been like a scripted one based on my articles, no, written for dear Gwyneth, my daughter. But anyway, I just want to also intermarry, the two podcasts, and hope that some people who've been listening to me here might listen on the other side as well. It's called Ang Mga Podcast ni George Atento, or Ang Podcast ni George Atento. So anyway, we continue with the topic that we discussed a while ago with some of my friends. Actually, the topic is so intertwined. It started with the notion of motion, and then it went to time. Well, the notion of time, and then I sort of explained that for me, time as it is understood by people now, of course, is different, because I view time in the way that at least the metaphysician would view it. All right, so the philosopher would view it, a measure of now and after, and then there's a concept of motion. The act of potency, insofar as it is still being in potency. So those stuff, and then the unmoved mover, the uncaused cause, the first cause, uncaused, the 5 ways of St. Thomas Aquinas in proving that there is God, and certain other things as well. Concept of hell, what is the meaning of hell? All those things. And I'd like to go into the details of that, and just realize that I think it's something that might interest some people, especially people at the brink of disbelief or at the brink of belief. I don't know, maybe to stop them from believing too much. I'm sorry. No, I'm not really. That's just a joke. But let me start with saying, my daughter once came up to me and said, asked me, you've been a guy that people ask, a lot of questions from, and usually about, this or that, whether this is a good thing to follow, or whether, what do you think of this concept and all that. But then I've never really understood what you believe in, right? So I said, how about you? What do you believe in? You would explain at length, like, how would a Buddhist, view the concept of, I don't know, karma, or giving to somebody else, or, attachments. And then you would do a beautiful explanation about how to, align it to the concept of Christianity, of giving, and the Christian tradition, and how the other religions would be just as giving and just as loving to their fellow men. But then the question is, what do you believe in? And I think the question is more or less trying to understand what is it that makes me draw the line. It's always like that, I guess. People would like to put you into a certain corner and label you in that corner and summarize you in that corner. That makes you, for example, like a liberal, or a conservative, or makes you believe in the freedom of the will, or sometimes you believe in the tendency of people to be fatalistic, to view that everything is destined, and so on, and Maybe it's because of laziness, maybe because people don't want to really understand what you really believe in, and that's why they put you in one corner, label you, because they think that the words in the words that they label you with, as Will Durant would say, are magical incantations that that charm the, I don't know, the magic of the air, or whatever he said, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm not really a fan of labeling people and putting them in one corner. For example, I know that when you speak about people who are Aristotelian, they would think that by labeling them as Aristotelian, they've already understood what they believe in. But even those people who are themselves to be called Aristotelian don't exactly, follow Aristotle in the same way, in the same vigor as, I don't know, Aristotle himself. Now, if you are a Platonist guy, you may believe in some of the things that Socrates would say, especially in Plato trying to talk to us in the mouthpiece of Socrates, right? But it doesn't make all the Platonists, the same way. Even if you are branded, again, even if you're branded as scholastic, it doesn't mean that all of you believe in the way that, for example, Saint Thomas believed in the existence of God, that you can prove the existence of God. Some so-called scholastic would not believe that, and that the belief in the existence of God is merely held by faith and not demonstrable, or that the belief in God is the belief in the existence of God is something that's self-evident and need not be proven. So all those things are, for me, I think the best starting point. You should not label anybody in the sense of his belief. I know that there are so many things that I think I come to associate myself with, and in this regard, I would like to start with the very first foundation of it all. For me, is the foundation of whatever is seen by the senses, which is whatever is understood by my senses, whatever is seen by my senses, seen by my eyes, or touched or felt. Now, in this regard, I would put so much emphasis on that, because you cannot deny the things that are seen by your eyes or heard by your ears, especially if you are not mentally deranged, or mentally you have a mental condition or something like that. Now, of course, some people would say, what about those people indeed that have some mental condition? If they only believe if their starting point is their senses, and their senses are dulled in a certain way, like, for example, you're dulled in sweetness, and therefore everything that you taste is sweet, or bitter, everything that you taste is bitter. For me, the solution to that kind of problem or confusion is that I, as one person, may be confused or may be mistaken into the belief of what is seen by my eye, or what is heard by my ear, or what is felt by my touch, or what is tasted, or what is smelled by my nose. But all these things are verifiable by somebody else, a trusted individual or a trusted group of people that represents not me as a person, not me as George, but as humanity. So if we are to start with something, it has to be verifiable by senses, and not just by my own self, but by somebody else. So that is now the starting point of my belief. Whatever is seen, whatever is felt, whatever is smelled, whatever is heard, insofar as they have the quality of being heard, of being smelled, of being touched, of being seen, then therefore they exist. And if that other material thing exists, in the sense that it can be touched, felt, smelled, heard, tasted, then you yourself, being a third person, or in your case being the first person, on the first person perspective, you know that you also exist, because you're the one seeing, you're the one hearing, you're the one tasting. So for me, I tend to agree with what Descartes would say, and I think even Augustine before him, when he said, "I doubt, therefore I am." So in the sense that you are doubting. If you are doubting, the fact that you are doubting, then that means you exist. On the other hand, if you think, therefore you exist, right? And according to Descartes, for me, in the sense that since these things are verifiable to be existent in the sense of the qualities of the senses, and it's verifiable by somebody else, and these people are held to be not dishonest, and dishonest not held to be scrupulous, therefore you yourself exist, because you sense that, and therefore you exist. How about the people who are devoid of these senses, right? Maybe they don't see, maybe they don't hear, maybe they don't see and hear, maybe they don't feel. So these are people who may be existing but are not actually behaving as human beings, in the sense that they are not living a full life. Yeah. So maybe they're vegetable in a hospital, and how could you reason that person is not sensing, right? So for me, for that person, POV, the person objective observable point, maybe for him nothing else exists. He's living in a dreamland, just like if you're mentally deranged or may have a mental condition, that everything that you see is sometimes in doubt, right? But the fact that someone else in this world can see you, hear you, feel you, smell you, taste you even, right? You still exist, because someone else in this universe is able to see you or feel you or hear you, right? So it becomes now, what is this? Like a democracy of sorts, right? A democracy of sorts, in the sense that somebody else has to say, or to agree that someone is existing, or it exists. The reason why I'm saying that is because, for example, I personally have not seen the Andromeda Galaxy. I don't know whether it exists, right? But it does exist, because a lot of people have said it exists. The scientists have said it exists, and there are many people who have put it in books and encyclopedias and CD-ROMs and in Wikipedia and articles in the internet. It's verifiable. It can be seen through the the Hubble telescope, for example. While I am unaware of it, I'm ignorant of it. I don't even know how to demonstrate that is the what we call the Andromeda Galaxy, and this a group of stars are in Milky Way galaxy. I am not as brilliant as the astronomers and the scientists of NASA, but I know that it is verifiable by someone else, and by not just one person, but a group of persons, and not only now but through the years, right? So it becomes now humanity marching with them towards the truth, right? Because the truth is verifiable in the sense that some others have seen it, taste them, heard them, felt them, and all that. So now it becomes the scientific community, other people, they become now the representative of humanity as they march towards a common, cause, a common understanding about what is true, what exists, and all that, right? Now, of course, in this regard, you'll have to ask me a very important question that we must avoid as of now, and that is, how about God? What about the concept of God? What about the concept of hell? About the soul? What are those things? Some people believe it, some people don't, some people just felt it and they want it to exist because of this, so and so. How do you consider it true or existent? How do you consider it as non-existent? Will it be, will it be judged by? Will it be judged by the same product of the senses, or would it be then an agreement of the scientific community? Because if that is the case, then we would always have to debate about the existence of something else. So for me, in order to solve that difficulty, I would say that there are certain things that are observable and that are verifiable through the senses, and we know that we have a certain understanding about how they behave, what are their qualities, what are their nature. Some of them we only hold because of the data that we have, right? Like for example, what we know about dark matter or dark energy, we don't know it exactly. We just know that it exists because we are abstracting from what we see as the behavior of things within near or within the sphere of the dark energy or dark matter that we talk about, right? So, but we don't know exactly what they are. We have an inkling about what they are, and there is a common held concept about what they are. But as a human being, one person, we don't know exactly what they are, so you have to really understand it from the perspective of science and what is the common held belief, common held notion, which is in itself improved as time goes by, and as we become nearer and nearer to the truth. We are not to be branded as incorrect, even if after 50 years we know that these concepts may be held as incomplete. It may be incomplete but never incorrect. So for example, when you talk about the motion, the Newtonian physics, we will tend to look into it and say that the relativity of theory of Einstein would be a great improvement, and it does not discredit Newtonian physics, because some scientists have looked into the fundamental particles level, and you see that they still behave, they still more or less follow a certain the rules of Newtonian physics, right? So again, it may be incomplete to look at it from that perspective. It may be incomplete at its worst, but it is never incorrect, because there's still some truth in it that we have to discover as time goes by. So there are certain truths like that we know that are never complete in the sense of truth, in the sense that it's absolutely 100% true. We don't know these 100% things about a certain thing, or 100% truths about a certain thing. But we know for sure that the things that we know about those things even in terms of probability, may not be discredited as false, right? So that's our answer to David Hume. Although that's not a complete answer, of course. So don't worry about it. On the other hand, there are certain quote-unquote truths that may be hard to prove or even harder to disprove, and such are the concepts of, for example, concept of the soul, the existence of the soul, the immortality of the soul, the immateriality of the soul. Since it cannot be seen or heard or touched or felt or tasted, does it mean that it does not exist? Or do you measure it according to its effects and therefore it exists? So those are the things that we have to go into detail when we move to the next tools that we are talking about. So I guess that's mainly what we are talking about here. So there are certain truths that are verifiable, observable through the senses, not necessarily our own senses, but the sense of humanity as a whole. So in this regard, the science, physics, all the branches of science and philosophy, maybe education, all of this, medicine, space, astronomy, all of these are helping us in order to march closer and closer to the truth that are in objects or in the things that are within our grasp or within the far reaches of our eyes, the sight of the universe. So there are certain things that do not fall within those realms, and those things are maybe not considered to be untrue immediately or absolutely unneeded, but what we know for sure is that we continue to debate and to argue, to reason our way to the truth. It's hard, it's long, it's tiring, but if we talk about the ultimate end of humanity and the happiness of our souls, I use the word souls loosely here, okay? So we know that we have to talk about it and think about it, and then in the end, even though we are not sure about it, and there's a certain kind of probability that makes us feel safe about choosing one side over the other, then that will be our own happiness, our own peace. Alright, so I think that's it. For the next episode, I'd like to talk about some other things, especially the starting point of philosophy, which is change. Thank you.